members of the board. I actually maintain a spreadsheet of everybody that's been on the board and the committees that they've served on. So I try to mix it up each year to make sure that everybody gets a chance to sit on all the different committees. Like last year, we have two standing committees, the Montco 2040 Committee and the Montgomery Awards Committee. Plus, we have board members that are serving on the Comp Plan Committee also, so that's been taken into account with this. So with that, the Montco 2040 Committee will be made up of myself, Bob Blue, Kyle Spees, and Kim Ramsey. And the Montco Awards Committee will be made up of Dulcie, John, Ernst, and Sandra. Okay, and the Comp Plan Committee is being staffed or is being constituted. Dulcie is co-chair.
Yes.
Myself, Nicole, and Jonathan sit on the Comp Plan Committee. And I did have a conversation with Ann. Comp Plan Committee is going to see a fair amount of work coming up in the next 6 months as far as reviewing documents. So to try to spread things around, that's how I came up with the committees. So those that are on the Montco 2040 Committee will probably start seeing some communications within the next month and a half.
Well, applications for grants are due in the beginning of March, and then we will meet shortly thereafter to dump all of the stuff on you to need and review.
So that'll be sometime towards the middle to the later part of March, two or three meetings, probably.
Yeah,
something like that to review.
Logish meetings, and then we make decisions on the grants by the end of May or so.
Right.
Do you generally go see the sites of the applicants?
No, I mean, you could, but staff
does. Okay.
If you have enough information, and then the presentations, they'll have all the maps and everything on.
They do a great job
Yeah.
of reviewing all the applications, providing feedback, comments, and really editing it down to the essence of what you're looking to do.
And if questions come up that require follow-up to the applicant, staff will handle that and then come back to you. So they've developed a really nice process.
Great. And Montgomery Awards Committee will start to meet. We'll start organizing sometime through the latter part of the spring into the summer for that tour. The November board meeting will be Montgomery Awards. So, okay. With that, then we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is community planning assistance contracts, and we have quite a few on our list today. We have so I'll call on Eric to get us started on that.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We're already halfway through January. As time marches on. Yeah, we have a big list for you this morning. We have 5 renewals for consideration, as well as 1 new 3-year planning assistance contract. The 5 renewals involve Abington Township, Collegeville Borough, Salford Township, Hatboro Borough, North Wales Borough, and a new contract for Plymouth Township. Again, for the renewals, we'll be working with Abington Township. We're continuing to update their zoning ordinances, working on their zoning right now. We'll be reinitiating their comprehensive plan. That was put on hold a few years ago, so they're going to be getting back to that, which will take up a big portion of this year. Salford Township, this is really about supporting their planning commission. So we attend all their planning commission meetings. We help them through the land development process, which they don't see a lot of new land developments occurring. And then we're also doing a continuing audit of their zoning code, which will continue in 2026. Collegeville Borough, we're going to be completing their parks conceptual master plans for their parks early this year. And then we're assisting on several other ordinance updates, starting with their signs and their Main Street commercial area. Hatboro, we're completing and hoping to adopt early this year a full zoning rewrite that we've been working on for several years. Once that's completed, we'll be conducting a walk audit of their core commercial area and focusing on walkability. North Wales, again, implementing their comprehensive plan. We just did a kind of mid comprehensive plan audit to see where they've accomplished things in the comprehensive plan and what new initiatives and priorities they want to set moving forward. And then for Plymouth, the new contract, just Monday night, they voted to approve the contract unanimously. So we'll be meeting with them in the next few weeks to get that started. They really want a lot of help looking at land use studies. They have a number of areas of the township that are in transition, the mall area, the office park, as well as the industrial area along Conshohocken Road. So they want to do some more in-depth land use studies for those areas. And then once those are completed, use those as the foundation for updating their comprehensive plan. And then, of course, all along during that, we'll be helping with ordinance updates and any other emerging issues, i.e. data centers that might be forcing the community to take some action. That's the 6 communities. These are the final renewals for 2026. So we don't have any more. We have no mid-year 2025s or 2026s.
Okay, so before we ask questions, we get the resolution into the record. So before us, we have MCPC resolution 26-1.1. Community planning assistance contract resolution of January 14th, 2026. In this resolution are 6 contracts. Contract 696, North Wales Borough, January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2028. Total cost is $103,284, split 50% to the municipality, 50% to the county. Next one is contract 700, Salford Township, same time frame. Total cost is $86,070. Once again, split 50-50. 701 Abington Township, same time frame, $111,891. Again, split 50-50. 702 Collegeville Borough, same time frame, $94,677. Same split. 704 Hatboro Borough, same time frame, $103,284. Again, with the same split. And our new contract 705 Township, same time frame, $120,498. Again, split 50-50 between the municipality and the county. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? So moved. Moved and seconded. Scott. Eric. So I have Mike as Abington. Who are the planners for Salford?
Yeah, well, I'll go down the whole list because it's there's some changes a little bit and adjustments coming forward. So Mike Narcowich is the current planner for Abington. Abby Cover, who started last February, will be working with Mike in Abington. No immediate change there, but probably maybe into 2027. We'll be looking at maybe transitioning Abby into taking that contract over.
Okay.
But that's a long transition period. And we'll see what else might arise in that time period. Salford Township is Matt Lubitz. He's been with them for several years now. Collegeville is Naomi Krim. Again, she's been working with them for a number of years. Hatboro Borough, John Micklos has been the planner there and has been extremely valuable to that zoning process and that update. Austin Mosby, who's one of our county planners, has been interested in working with one of our communities. He actually has a lot of history with Hatboro. I'm not sure if he grew up there or if he had some time in the borough that has a lot of experience and understanding of the community. So he'll be working with John in Hatboro. And then North Wales is Tim Kenichi, who's been doing a lot of work there over the last several years. And then Plymouth Township will probably be Marley Bice. So she wrote the comprehensive plan several years ago, and her understanding of the community is as good as anybody on staff. And some of their emerging issues, like with the data centers, we'll probably tap in, Mike Narcowich and some of the other expertise on that as it's needed. But that's who's managing those contracts.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Eric on these contracts?
Yeah, I have one thought. Might we put how many planner days these contracts are for? When somebody would look at the contracts in our, anything that would be public, you wouldn't understand why some contracts are so much larger than others. So I think knowing how many planner days or something that gives the relative focus and that connected with what the costs would be helpful.
Right. Yeah, we can do that. I think because the planner day is so nebulous to begin with, I'm not sure it gives a lot more value than the dollar.
Maybe it's inappropriate. I don't know. But what I'm saying, I always look at it and say, well, why?
Right.
Is it because it's a bigger community? Or is it that, you can see what, and also even what the scope of the work is, doesn't always tell you, because sometimes it's very nebulous, but it might be a lot of it. So I just was wondering how we do that.
Yeah. I'm fine to do it. I can kind of run down it now because I was looking at when you have this many in comparison, I think it's kind of interesting to see the divergence of the numbers.
Right.
Well, so if you,
Just think about it, Eric,
yeah, okay.
how we might, have that a little bit more public, and if that's appropriate, it might not be.
I think each one deserves some explanation.
Yes, in the presentation, but it's not in when somebody is looking and seeing what the contracts are, and that's the written, numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly tell you why the numbers are the way they are. And that explanation, I think, would be valuable, go along with the numbers. And I can maybe focus on that maybe in the presentation summaries a little better.
That's fine.
Again, I'm certainly, we'll talk about all of them right now if you have any specific questions.
Any other questions for Eric?
Did we keep all of our existing clients?
From 2025?
Yes.
So Lower Gwynedd did not renew. They were a mid-year expiration. That was not a total surprise. They came to us basically for a comprehensive plan update, which we completed for them. They're still in the process of reviewing it and will adopt it earlier this year, which we're helping out with. But that's primarily what they came to us for. They said they might come back depending on what projects move forward. They're looking to do a Bethlehem Pike Corridor study. They may consider us for that when the time comes. And then Lower Marion was the other one. That was a little bit of a surprise. We're still trying to work with them and understand, what was the conditions for that. But on the flip side, that freed up Marley to be able to go back and to help out Plymouth with some pretty sizable work and impactful work. So we had 36 last year. We lost 2 down to 34. Plymouth puts us back to 35.
Lower Marion going?
They haven't stopped.
I'm sorry?
Is Lower Marion gonna hire anybody outside, or are they just gonna just work on the inside?
We have not really been able to have any specific discussions with them.
Don't they have a planning staff in?
They have a pretty large staff, which they've expanded through several planners the last few years, but
They had, following along being active there, they've had significant budget issues and had a tax raise that was out of beyond what they've been used to in 2 decades, really. There was guidance to pull back on outside consultant work. So they do have the strongest and largest planning department in the county, with like 6 or 7 planners. So I think that's pretty good.
But in the brief conversations we did have with them, they did not rule out, maybe coming back in the future for sure.
Any other questions? Okay. Any comments or questions from staff or public? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thanks, Eric. We'll see you towards the end of this year. So with that, we have our first, we move on to our Abington Township Community Planning Update. We'll call on Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, Mike. Good. How are you all doing today?
Good.
Hey, we're going to talk about the Abington Township Community Planning Assistance Contract Renewal.
We know about the new, they're looking for community development.
Yeah, they're doing a little restructuring. They had moved some departments around and staff from different departments, from one department to another a few years ago. So now they're doing some more reconfiguring, a new manager.
Yeah, I just thought it was strength in the building.
Well, he's been there a year. Yeah, Chris Chrisman. Okay, so this is for the 2026-2028 contract. Just a little background on Abington. I'm sure most people know where it is in the eastern portion of the county, abutting Philadelphia. And just a couple of quick facts. The 2024 population was 59,075, and the township grew 5.8% over the last 2 censuses by 3,200 people. And then looking forward with DVRPC population forecasts, it's projected to grow 4% from the projection for 2025 to the projection for 2050, a change of 3,200 people. The county, by the way, grew 7.0% from 2010 to 2020, just some context. So this is the existing land use map, and of course you see yellow over the overwhelming portion of the map, and that's single family detached. That's something that we're taking a crack at with the draft comprehensive plan to try to introduce more allowable dwelling types in more zoning districts. And after single family detached, you have institutional, and I'll show you the breakdown in a table in a moment by percentages, by existing land use categories. So community service and institutional include things like Penn State, Abington, Abington Jefferson Hospital, Holy Redeemer Hospital, cemetery, schools. And then after that, you get into the open space and you see so here's the table breakdown. And so with the open space, you've got 8.6% public open space, 3.6 private, for a total of 12.2. And some of the larger areas include Lorimer Park in the eastern part of the township, and Alberthorpe Park down by Jenkintown, both public open space areas. After that, you see the reds and the magenta, and that's the commercial, that's the mixed use, and you can see how they run along the commercial spines of Easton Road, of Old York Road. And then you also see there's not much in the way of industrial, that's a purple color. And down here is where SPS was, and I'll be talking about that briefly later, but that's the only real significant industrial land use area in the township. So over the past contract, work completed included restarting the subdivision and land development ordinance draft. There was a hold for a while, but we've restarted that and working with staff. We're taking care of edits, updates, some updates for best practices, some incorporation of feedback from newer consultants and staff. It clarifies and strengthens regulations, greatly expands the definitions, better integrates the EAC and the Shade Tree Commission in the review process for land developments. And there were newer substantial expansions to things such as planting specifications, the recommended planting table, which as a trend is these days, it's getting much more detailed with specific recommendations for specific plants and trees and specific conditions, as well as an emphasis, much greater emphasis on using native plants. With riparian quarter plantings, we did adopt a riparian quarter conservation district in the 2017 zoning. Now we're adding to the Saldo planting requirements, which is drawn from the model guide for riparian quarter conservation district that MCPC did. And we have standards for stormwater management, basin design, and landscaping. Also, there's a section now in open space and trails, as required by the MPC, a mobile home park chapter, and substantial addition to the Saldo for transportation impact studies, as well as some other impact studies.
What happened with the Saldo program?
It was put on. It was frozen by the township for a while. There was just a lot going on. Other projects rose to the fore. I think that there's always something popping up in Abington, and unfortunately, sometimes that means that other projects that have been the priority at the time get placed on hold. And I'm just glad that we're resuming it because there was a relatively long intermission between the times we started it. As you know, you're very involved in the committee early on, and when we restarted it about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So is it critical versus urgent kind of thing?
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
Fair amount of politics involved, like not capital P politics. Which is, there were some concerns, I think, about the direction where the South was going. So
Interesting. Okay.
that's, I don't.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll talk to you more about that later. I'm curious.
Yeah. Well, I think it had also to do with land use. I think it was all tied together, and
Yeah. Okay.
thoughts on the land use kind of pulled back on the South process.
Right. Yeah, because that certainly zoning was something can get more, to me, it can get much more political. So I'm kind of surprised about that. So we continue to provide guidance to township staff in pre-development meetings. And that's where developers have a chance to present concept plans at their option to the township and meet with township staff and consultants so that we can highlight potential opportunities and problems. Maybe it's suggested alternatives before they invest a lot of time and money in a plan and hopefully result in a better end result for everyone. Zoning, we worked with the township staff to make a series of edits and updates. These were updates and edits collected as suggestions to add to the to-do list ever since the zoning was adopted in 2017 by different staff. And then we had new staff come in and they had their own suggestions and own opinions. So I've been working closely again for the last year and a half, especially with the assistant manager, Ashley McIlvain, who's really been driving things forward.
I have a few suggestions.
Okay.
We'll talk about those.
Okay.
I mean, sitting on the zoning hearing board, I have a few suggestions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and and we know about some of these already, which are incorporated in our changes, but yeah, I'm sure you have other things to talk about. So yeah, it'd be great. I'm all ears. All right, so we had design consultations. The township and the previous manager was interested in having us work on some design projects. So we consulted extensively with the township about that. Took site visits, we had consultations with PennDOT, we attended meetings, the Keswick Village Business Association for one, and we prepared project proposals and scopes essentially for different potential projects like Keswick Village streetscape conceptual design, Old York Road median plantings, landscapings and trees, and a park redesign at Howell Park, which is right across Highland Avenue from SPS. So we served on the steering committee and transportation section has been involved with this as well for a study conducted by a consultant for separated bike lanes, a feasibility study for separated bike lanes. And that looked at recommendations from the 2016 or 17 Abington Master Bicycle Plan, which Stephen is again very familiar with, and just tried to select a few of those routes that were most ideal and important for separated bike lanes and investments in infrastructure upgrades there. And of course, we conducted detailed land development reviews. The most significant was for the Sisters of St. Basil site on Fox Chase Road, not too far from Rockledge, and that's for 150 dwelling units, which are single family attached, age restricted. Going forward, I've been informed that we're going to restart the comprehensive plan process. And so that's another thing we prepared a draft for, and the township paused that for an extensive period. And so now we're going to restart it this year. And we have everything really done as far as the chapters, except we need to finalize the future land use and housing chapters. And of course, prepare an implementation table. We have recommendations from all the chapters. We need that table to wrap them all together, give priorities to them, some timelines, identify organizations which can help support the recommendations implementation, and identify funding sources.
What was the date of your previous conference?
Last adopted comprehensive plan, and I think Stephen, you were involved in this. Was
A long time ago.
yes, it was 2007.
7 or 5?
It was 7. 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me, you know, the different communities take different amounts of time, but we're going to have a new county comprehensive plan. So when they're doing these, if we want some concurrence or we go through the concurrence, consistency, all that kind of stuff, it's important.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it was the comprehensive plan, not the salvos.
That was,
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yes, that was, oh, and that I'm well aware of.
and the chapters that you talked about that are still left to, were the ones that were controversial.
Yeah, that's why they're not completely finished.
They just gotta. They gotta get past the NIMBYs, so.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's, right, there's some motivated, I would describe it as a very small, not very small, but a small group. People who, sort of the ones who come to every meeting and voice the same opposition, repeatedly. Sometimes it seems like it's maybe 5 to 15, 5 to 10 people, that you're used to seeing. And so the township really decided to reassess their path, I think. Now I'm not privy to all their thinking conversations, but so that's why they decided to treat it cautiously, make sure that the plan represented what the township wanted to represent everyone's views and something they were comfortable with. And we still have to go through the adoption process, so there may be some modifications made, we will see.
Are you seeing development proposals in Abington? Because it seems to me that there seems to be stagnation in redevelopment or development in the township,
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple of new cul-de-sacs developments. One in
Still single family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing, even as many as 10 units, right? It's like 7 units, 4 units.
Because, doing work in Cheltenham, so I've talked to, Henry and, seeing what's going on in Jenkintown. It seems like the neighboring or the connected municipalities to Abington seem to have some activity. I was just at a meeting at Paul Hotel last week in Moreland, and it just seemed to be much more active than anything that I can tell is going on in Abington.
Right. Yeah, for a while, of course, it looked like something major would happen at the mall.
Right.
But there's been no news about anything happening there for a few years.
Yeah. It's concerning.
Yeah. So going ahead, we're also continuing to participate in those planning staff meetings. We do have development proposals. There has been some activity with Noble Town Center, with them putting in several out parcels and then updating their main building at the not Betawood Shopping Center, but at Noble Town Center shopping area. We'll finalize the Saldo and support its adoption. We'll complete edits to zoning and support their adoption. And then, of course, there was this major event a year ago, this time in January 2025 in Abington when SPS burned down. And that's on Highland Avenue. And so this is an image of what it looked like in February 2024, and that is afterwards. So the site's been cleared, and now we are reviewing development. And Abby Cover has joined me working on Abington, and so she and I are working on the review for that. And this is for 348,000 square feet. So
What was the square footage of this?
I don't know, but I know it was about 25% more. So SPS has said that by rebuilding, they can introduce a lot of efficiencies. This complex was built piece by piece over the years. Yeah. Brick brand.
Building here, let's add an extension here.
Yeah,
Like Philadelphia Airport.
exactly. Like a series of blocks clustered together. And in doing so, they can meet the zoning, they can pull the building back from the street to meet the zoning setbacks. Currently, in one of the cases, the setback is like 2 feet. So they would bring that back to about 25 feet. And they've also said, talked about a couple other things that may be in the works that might be in the township's interest. So you see this construction tent here across the street. That's SPS's parking lot. They have a few parking lots in different locations. In the new proposal, parking would be here and continue to be here and here. But they're saying that they no longer need that. So there's talk of whether that might be potentially something the township could acquire. Hallowell Park is right over here. You know, maybe there's a possibility that that park could be expanded, and that park was given to the township by SPS many years ago. And then also there's some interest by local neighborhood groups in this area down here along the branch to the Coney Creek, the Bader Creek, or maybe a potential walking trail, stormwater management improvements, naturalization in the stream bank, preservation of green area. And you can see here the park, parking is across the street. Here's the creek area.
Mike, is there any activity at all happening on that site in terms of business operations, or are they completely moved?
They have moved temporarily. They have a site they've secured, believe in the Ben Salem area, a general part of lower Bucks County. And they have a lease on that for about 5 years. And so while they rebuild, they will be there. But their intention is to move back to Abington. I don't think they plan to keep site in Bucks long term. I may be wrong about that. But they definitely, you know, are moving back here in force. Now they would have fewer employees, you know, due to AI, mechanization, and so forth.
Last I heard about 250 employees. Commerce Department, Commissioner's offices.
Mike, I would encourage them as they move along the steps to consider that walking trail. I happened to drive past Almac yesterday, midday, and there must be a walking trail.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how many people were out, you know, exercising at their you know, lunch break. So it's good for the community. It's great for the business if you can get it in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, it's interesting. I went to a meeting where they had a public information session by SPS about their plans for the site, and the community really does, to a much greater extent than I realized, embrace SPS and respect what they've done for the community in terms of employment and taxes. And there are concerns, you know, every now and then there's concerns about air pollution reported in Jenkintown and nearby areas. But I was surprised how many people showed up just to say SPS has been a great neighbor, and you know, usually the people who turn out are the people who are opposed. So that was interesting. So with the new contract, it's 2.75 planner days per month. That's the same as it is now, 12 night meetings per year. Total contract cost $111,800, and the township share $55,900. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Mike on Abington Township?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is our project kickoff on Guide to Official Map Planning Tool. On John and Adam. Let's see, John, Adam. Stephanie. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Official maps.
That's right. We are, something that we've been working on for a little while now, but looking to ramp up and kick into high gear. So that's why we're here before you to get you up to speed on what we've been finding, where we want to take this, and get your questions, get your advice. So first off, show of hands, who is familiar with official maps as a planning tool? All right, okay. Pretty good level of familiarity. MCPCers in the back, you don't count.
If you don't know what it is, it's a problem.
So this is a very powerful planning tool, which we feel is long underutilized. Something that was created or, you know, last codified in the MPC, just like a comprehensive plan. But one that we see as being, you know, much less popular than the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan is needed to have zoning, whereas the official map is a little more optional. But we think it has plenty of benefits, so we're trying to promote it. For any of you who aren't familiar, the official map is a map where municipalities can designate their land improvements, public improvements, where they want to put them and what kinds. So.
Wait a second, I gotta click on screen.
Oh, so
Now go.
Oh, there we go. So in the MPC, it gives a fairly long list of uses that the official map could be used for, but it's not an exclusive list. It specifically says, it's not limited to all these things. So it's kind of an open question as to what a municipality could use it for. It's not like the comp plan where there's a required list of topics that have to be covered. The official map is very flexible. But to kind of organize these uses, we think of it as kind of having three categories. First of all, being transportation of all kinds, streets, highways, interchanges, intersections, roundabouts, pedestrian or biking infrastructure, rights of way of all kinds, easements. This could even include utilities for municipalities where that's a concern. We're grouping recreation and conservation together, though sort of the catch-all might be thought of as open space preservation for whatever purpose that open space is going to be used. We usually think of it as protecting natural features, but active recreation is a part of this. Conservation of specific kinds of natural features could certainly be included. One thing that I think might be a little bit of a head scratcher for us is the inclusion of water courses. So we've asked ourselves, what were they thinking back in 1967 putting water courses on the list? But certainly nowadays, we might think of riparian buffers, stream bank restoration, or floodway management to mitigate flooding, perhaps. I'm sure you can think of others. And the last that we've kind of put together here in a grouping is community facilities, very broadly defined. Communities that are facing growth especially might want to take a look at what services might be needed. And that could include municipal buildings, upgrading them, relocating them, adding new facilities like senior centers. But that could include parking, plazas, any other kind of facility that could be needed. On that note.
Yeah, so why make an official map? They've often been used by communities experiencing a significant amount of growth or greenfield development. So as a way to preserve open space. So we've seen our neighbors in Chester County, many municipalities have used it for that purpose. But it's a way to manage growth, identify areas where you want to see parks, trails, improve the road systems and mitigate some of those impacts of growth with public facilities and the like. And so it really consolidates, an official map consolidates all of the improvements into one document. We see that as a real benefit because there are so many different types of plans, from comp plans to open space plans, and communities have these, but sometimes they're not at their fingertips. So having an official map with all of the improvements kind of on one document, we see as a real way of having it front and center and communicating that to the public in an easy way. So it's great for quick reference. We advise planning staff to kind of have their official map, up in their office so that they can easily reference it. And it shows the relation between different improvements that have been proposed through different planning efforts. So additionally, I alluded to this, it really communicates expectations to developers, community officials, and the public of what the community wants to see in their community. And it presents everything together. Affected properties are easily identified. Information is available before sales or development is considered, and I'll really highlight this. It makes a developer's life so much easier to see, okay, this is what the community has identified, this is what the planning staff has identified for this parcel. How am I going to create a development around that? So it makes a lot of sense. And we've seen a lot of it used as a negotiation tool with developers to see what the community wants in their community. And it's a starting point. It's a starting point for discussions for that negotiation. Additionally, it provides increased opportunities to implement these planning improvements. It really is an implementation tool. So it establishes a legal process for identifying and acting on the proposed improvements, gives municipalities the option to purchase the land before subdivision or development. And it also can be used for grant applications. So it's just yet another tool in the planning toolbox to get implementation done. So to actually make an official map, obviously public outreach and engagement is crucial. A lot of that will have taken place with the other planning studies, but through this process, there is an opportunity for public to comment. The municipality's governing body submits the official map and ordinance describing the official map for review, and then the county and its and the municipality's neighbors have 45 days to provide comment. Upon adoption, the official map and ordinance are recorded and hopefully ideally incorporated into municipal processes. So concerns and misconceptions, and this is where we really want to hear from you as well. Why is this not being used more prevalently throughout Montco, throughout Pennsylvania? One kind of misconception is that it's only a tool for preserving land. So preserving open space, you know, if you're a built out community, how could an official map be beneficial to you? Also, property owners see it as government interference. They don't want to sell to the government. And that the proposed improvements on a landowner's property are perceived as takings. Now, really, the official map is really just identifying these places as proposed improvements. We haven't seen so many takings per se, particularly in Montgomery County. Really, and I'll get to this later in one of the case studies, we've seen it more as a negotiation tool where the developer sees up front, this is what the community has planned for this land, and how can I incorporate some or all of those improvements in the development. So sometimes municipalities are deterred by these concerns, or they accomplish their goals with other planning tools. But we're really interested to hear from you all how familiar you are with this process. Have you seen kind of official maps being used? Why isn't an official map adopted in a place such as Lansdale? Interesting to hear your feedback on that.
I can tell you a couple of reasons.
Yeah, no.
It sounds hugely time consuming.
Yeah.
To kind of collect all this information.
Sure.
Because the only way to me that it would be effective is that if each piece of the puzzle is a separate layer on some kind of a GIS map.
Mm-hmm.
So you're combining all these things so that you can turn on different layers to provide this map. Looking at the inventory of particular pieces that should be or maybe should be, it looks like it sounds like it's going to be this hugely confusing map of all these different colors and shapes and graphics.
Give an example of an official map.
Yeah, we're gonna get to those.
Yeah, I would like to see one
Yes.
looks. I mean, so anecdotally, we had always, as a group, thought we had this official map. Oh yeah, it's the map that's hanging on the wall in our conference room, and it just shows streets, alleys, things like that. We don't have an official map according to the guidelines here. And I would be curious to see how many municipalities of the 67 or whatever actually have.
That's a good segue. That is a very good segue.
Yeah, I would just add before we go
Yeah.
there, I mean, being a transportation engineer, I do see municipalities, including those in Montgomery County. I would say Limerick Township's a good example. They have a really good official map that shows their desired additional street connectivity areas where they want to see streets interconnect, new local streets, trails. So you also don't have to create an official map that includes everything that they listed. You can focus on the areas that are the most meaningful and really that you want to convey to those potential developers and those property owners and prioritize. And it doesn't have to be everything, so.
No, you're completely right.
Absolutely right.
Can an official map be, specific to an area of a township and not the whole township?
These are fantastic questions.
I'm
Yes,
thinking like,
Yes.
that
I'm
is.
thinking like Lower Merion.
So-
Could you feed us these questions so we can?
But these are
You just
fantastic
have
questions.
an awareness of
Yeah.
what we're talking about. That's
In fact, you might be the experts.
There we go, yeah. We're in the right room. So there are a lot of other tools that are available. And so for municipalities that don't necessarily want to do everything that an official map could conceivably be used for, they make do with what they have. Or if there has been resistance, we've seen municipalities say, you know what, an official map is going to, tie too many things together, perhaps. We're just going to work with what we have already. And so in that kind of point, we have 5 active official maps in this county now. So Upper Hanover, though there's, was a little mysterious for a while. They have it on
Where
file.
is
It's
it?
not on the website. It's not quite as publicly facing. We're still reaching out and, finding out how they use it.
And it's very limited. Theirs is extraordinarily limited, which
Right,
shows
it's
to
a
your
more
point
focused,
that it can be very focused on really the main improvement that I
topic,
saw
perhaps.
was one additional road that they wanted to see built.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very simple.
Right, so the ambitions of a municipality can vary, to meet their needs, their feelings regarding this. But Nicole, as you mentioned, Limerick Township there is quite an example. We've also got brand new one in Horsham, just adopted a few months ago, I believe. That one is focused on a specific area, the air station. West Conshohocken has one, another place where we're reaching out. And Lower Merion Township with the City Avenue District. So we have 5. There are several cases where we're familiar with places that have considered it, but have been, deterred or have backed off of it. Places where plans have recommended adopting official maps, but they've taken no action on it. This is something that is kind of in discussion in a lot of places, but only 5 so far have gone so far as to adopt it and maintain it.
We
Much
know
more
how-
common in Chester County. I
That's what
don't know how many
Yes.
municipalities have them in Chester County.
17.
Yeah.
And they have how many municipalities? They have fewer.
That I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
70.
Gosh, I thought 62.
I would think it because of the intense interest in open space.
So I think it's because of the
Yeah.
intense interest in open space and then
More rural counties.
much more rural counties where they're trying to preserve parts of the county from, they're receiving a lot of development pressure, so that it makes a lot of sense. But they also kind of took the reins by the horn back in the 90s and did something similar to what we're doing, trying to accomplish here with an education campaign and outlining
Their
what
open space, their open space initiatives and the way they dealt with. And they also don't have as many, they don't have as many contracts with the county, but they have private planners, who knows, but it was the open space issues.
I think one of the deterrents to official maps is, I think there's a reliance on comprehensive plans because they're somewhat nebulous. They can describe and designate things in a comprehensive plan that could be, read many ways like a fortune cookie, like a fortune out of a fortune cookie. Whereas an official map starts to become much more
specific.
official, but more concrete or
Yeah.
more descriptive, specific as to what it's getting, what it's trying to convey to developers or to future policymakers in the township. And I think that's one of the deterrents.
Yeah.
That I would think, not based on any conversations, but I can see that would be.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it is more focused on kind of the next step from planning and getting into implementing which specific locations you want to see improvements in.
I think there has to be a sale, there has to be a sale tool to convince municipalities as to why the comprehensive plan isn't enough to defend the township from what it, or to convey what the township wants to have happen in the next 10, 15, 20 years. There has to be some type of way of describing or getting across to municipalities that it's not enough just to have a comprehensive plan. And it's not enough just to go from the comprehensive plan to a zoning ordinance, because the zoning ordinance, is very concrete. It's, very specific and is bound between certain things. It doesn't get into a whole lot of other things. I think the official map is the marrying of the ideas in the comprehensive plan, the saldo, and even the zoning ordinance, and puts it in a graphic form. And I think there has to be a way to sell that. And I think part of it is really selling it the way like Lower Merion has used it and Horsham has used it, where they've used it in specific areas that they know are going to be critical, are going to be, places of pressure.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting, when you're talking about what the incentives, I think our new comprehensive plan for the county will open some possibilities that we could consider. If we feel that official maps are really an important tool for shaping how these local municipalities change, and we share the message that no change is not on your menu. So do you want to have more control over how you change? Do you want it to be both a local decision, but also aligned with what a regional county decision would be? Maybe we consider as a county doing some kind of grant program for doing official maps. When we did our open space program in 93, 94, the way we got open space plans in every municipality is we gave them grants. And they did it. So I'm not saying that this is, clear how we might do it, but it would be a good time to consider if that type of incentive would be appropriate when we have a new vision for the county.
What's the legal significance of an official map?
So an official map basically grants the municipality right of first refusal when a property affected by a certain planned improvement comes up for subdivision or development. So it represents, I think, as Stephen was describing, a little bit more of a commitment to take action, either to pass on the opportunity or at that point purchase or otherwise negotiate for some implementation where a comprehensive plan.
Not property acquisition, not property acquisition for open space or something, but it designates areas that can be property acquisition for right of ways to implement certain transportation changes that wouldn't ordinarily be easy to do. It would have to be done through a development proposal. So if you designate an area that you want to see a fair amount of changes to an intersection, which requires, taking of certain portions of a property for additional right of way, that's something that would find its way in an official map that would be easily implemented as to a development coming across, or if the municipality was able to get funding from PennDOT or something, they would have that to fall back on. Say, we've had it in our official map, we're going to take this portion of the property.
So it designates properties that the municipality will have the right of first refusal to purchase if somebody comes along and says, I want to buy that corner or whatever. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I mean, if, let's say you have a gas station. Yeah. And you're going to sell that gas station to Wawa. And in the official map, it designates that there's going to be additional left turn lanes and
sidewalk
improvements. And there's going to be additional right of way that's going to be needed. So whoever's Wawa or whoever's buying that for Wawa goes in there and said they would see the official map and they would know that they're gonna come in for a development plan for a new Wawa. They're not gonna have, the township is gonna want X amount of space to implement what they've already designated in their official map. I mean, that's just a very micro.
No,
Yeah, no, that's a great
it's a
example.
good
and
example.
Definitely a common.
Yeah, lower variance map in just a few slides, but if for a large tract where, you know, public gathering space is required, say, the official map might say, we want it on this corner, and that's just a tool during the approval process where the applicant can then meet the township's expectations and find greater agreement.
Doesn't that fly in the face of the concerns of property owners that you have, I guess, the first slide?
Yeah, well, like we said, there's a concern that this constitutes a takings. But constitutionally, the municipality does not get anything that they're not paying for.
Yeah, that's not always a,
Yeah, great.
I know, that doesn't always diffuse the concern. I mean, it's
I think the
still,
reason we don't see more, takings, in addition to it being unpopular, municipalities typically don't have the money to purchase these properties and make
Right,
these
the
improvements.
acquisition.
So the development process is really going to be where the improvements take place.
exactly.
I mean, let's be clear about something. I mean, a municipality doesn't need an efficient map to do taking for public purposes.
True.
For public purposes. I mean, they don't need a map if they decide that they need to take property because they need to expand for an intersection, or they need to take property because they need to put a municipal building or a sewer treatment plant or something like that. They can take it. They'll probably get some kind of fight, but in the end, they'll win. As long as it's for the public good.
Right.
So they don't need an official map. The official map just makes it easy and puts a
Public face.
marker out there for anybody who's looking at a property that may be affected by those improvements that the township would like to see happen.
And
It's a collaborative.
Right.
another point we want to
And that's
emphasize
for more of a conversation.
is the
Yeah,
fact
I would
that
say.
the features on the official maps are planned for already. That the municipalities have gone through the process of visioning with the community, just bringing people in and talking, blue sky about like what's wanted, what's needed, where, how much, what kind. That is worked into a plan. The plan starts to map out improvements, perhaps. It's a collection, typically, in the best case scenarios, of what was already planned, what was already talked about with the community. This is just one step further, one implementation tool to make the community more effective at actually implementing those things that were discussed and planned and talked about and negotiated.
It gives the municipality more leverage.
Yeah. And I think we should go beyond what we're talking about, which is this taking aspect and all that. I mean, an official map, my understanding is if you set up if you have a bike lane study like Abington does and the county does for that matter, and some other areas can incorporate that, they can designate that, their bike lanes are going to be through this portion of the township and connected this way. And when street improvements happen or development happens, and they can incorporate off-street pathways that connect with the bike lane study, that's something. Pedestrian networks, there's always this conversation around waivers for sidewalks in development. But if there's an official map that shows this is the anticipated pedestrian network of sidewalks, and you're only 3 properties away from that network, well, don't give a waiver because at some point somebody's going to connect that.
Yeah, and sidewalks I'm just gonna grab that as a segue, is quite a common feature on our official maps, that as we look at the 5 that have been adopted and are active in Montgomery County right now, they feature on 3 of the 5. The Lower Marion Township, I believe,
So they
the city,
treat it
they-
as trail improvements, but it's essentially sidewalks.
it's a pedestrian network,
yeah.
right? So they can be very narrowly focused, as we see in Upper Hanover Township, where, as described, it's I think one
road.
road connection.
Yeah.
Or
cul-de-sac.
it can be a whole grab bag, like in West Conshohocken, they get very specific and dialed in on exactly what features they want where, or anywhere in between.
From a developer's perspective, would it be helpful to have an official map, but also, I don't know if you could have it, a requirement for sketch plans?
Well, sketch plans cannot be required.
No, but
But-
an encouragement
Yes,
to keep, as we're getting into this.
absolutely, Dulcie. And in fact, talking with Limerick Township, I found that they are rather proud of their official map and what it has allowed them to do through sketch plan discussions.
People don't understand sketch plans.
They're a tremendous thing.
They're
They're very powerful in managing those early expectations and setting up, the municipality and the developer, landowners for, a satisfactory, outcome. So Limerick Township is what we see as kind of the most typical case, the stereotypical case of an official map. They're a large developing community. They're in our 422 corridor. They have a lot of growth going on, but they also have a lot of opportunities still to preserve open space, add trails, make parks, whatever else. And so from the previous slide, their list of types of features that they are using this official map for is pretty substantial. What they have is not fully, township wide. They don't have, their trail network is largely concentrated up here. Their sidewalks are more associated with like the kind of the edge of their developments where they're trying to piece residential areas together. Their new roadways are pretty well clustered around the mall and the area that's developing there. But they are looking township-wide at all different kinds of things that they want to have to manage that growth, to make sure that this development and this new traffic is going to not cause chaos for them. And they've done a lot over the years since they adopted this, more than 10 years ago to keep it up to date. They've updated it multiple times, including quite recently. And each time they are adding things from new plans. So when first drawn up, it was presenting the proposals from their comprehensive plan. And then they added their trails plan. And most recently, I believe they updated to add the results from their Act 209 study. So it is something that they have had as a living document, as a feature on the wall in their planning commission meetings, something on the table when developers come with sketch plans in hand. And so they have a lot of successes to point to, such as this before and after image showing the realignment of Swamp Pike and Lewis Road with the Limerick Town Center, I think the development's called. This is a rather substantial improvement project as far as building a roundabout, moving roadways. And it was only possible because the developer came and said, what you're asking for is not going to be feasible given, what this land is zoned for. And so they worked with them. They, I believe, upzoned it to allow for the townhouses and the senior apartments that are there. They needed a bit more development potential, a little bit more, to kind of finance, these improvements that the township asked for. And speaking with their manager, speaking with their planning director, they were able to tell me about other cases that are ongoing or are now kind of breaking ground that kind of underwent, similar sort of processes.
Her Sheets is about to open next month at the corner. Her Sheets in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
Crossing the wall.
Right across the street from Sheets.
On the map here.
Like a
We
slide.
did the larger project. Her Sheets.
So in 2015, is that, the left?
Oh, yeah, this is just.
Archdiocese property.
They had an official map at that time?
Yes, it was fairly new at that point. They adopted it in 2013. And so, 10 years ago, when this was starting to come in and the concept was in development, the official map was in the discussion.
Did the official map in 2015 show what was built in 2025?
Yes, so the official map is why they got that realignment. And consequently, this is, removed in their next update, that as they check things off their to-do list,
As far as the roadway is concerned.
As far as the roadway,
Yes. Negotiation.
Yeah, but the roadway, they wanted to move it and have a roundabout and an intersection. Gotcha. Okay, great.
But it created, like you guys said, it created a conversation between the developer and the township, so they were able to implement what they've had on the official map, and they gave something to the developer to do that.
Right, I got that. I guess I was wondering how prophetic the township was in 2015 to say, here's what we want the roadway network to look like at some point in the future.
Nicole and I were just talking, because I've seen the progression of Limerick in over 30 years from being a rural community threatened, but how they responded to the impending growth is very interesting. And
Yeah, they really, from the time they adopted it, used this official map in a capacity. They're a township that does those pre-development meetings. They have a weekly staff meeting. They invite developers to have a portion of that meeting. So a developer can come in and have everybody in the room, township staff, consultants, emergency services, and everybody can comment on the plan, have an open dialogue, talk about things on the official map. And I think when they first adopted their official map, it was primarily focused on roads and maybe trails. It was really about connecting their roadways through open parcels. I think that's where originally they recognized that this would be a very valuable tool. And it's shown on the map, but when a developer comes in and says, I want to develop this property and I see you have one or two roadways, let's talk about where those connections make sense, how it can fit in with the development. It doesn't have to match the official map exactly. It has to be in keeping with the intent. So there's a lot, like you guys said, there's a lot of negotiation, but at least it puts it out there. And I think it's most effective when a municipality has a process like that, or can talk to property owners and developers at the sketch stage and really talk openly about what are the goals, what's on the official map, et cetera. So, and it's evolved. Clearly, they've added a lot of things to their official map over the years because they've had so much success.
Yes, and I don't want to miss the point that they do have a network of open spaces, and they've designated other properties that they want to preserve, even as all this development is happening. So it's very much what we see as kind of the conventional case. Sort of another type here is Lower Marion.
So speaking of a very specific area, location, when the City Apps Special Services District was created in 2013, there hadn't been, there was a lot of partnering going on, a lot of visioning, but there hadn't been a lot of planning. So just in talking to Chris Leswing, they viewed the official map as a way to incorporate a planning process and what they wanted to see in order to make this particular area, which is very auto-oriented, more pedestrian-friendly, and make connections to the local transportation hubs. So Kinwood Station, for example, Wissahickon Transportation Center is just off the way. So they really made it very focused on certain things, most of which were public multi-purpose paths, so sidewalks, trails connecting to their existing trail network, splitting up the blocks, so proposing roads through some of those really large parking lots for some of those older office buildings, so proposing roads to split up the blocks, make it more pedestrian friendly, and preserving certain amounts of open space. So basically, it's been used as developers come in and redevelop a property. When that happens, the developer's aware of this official map, and they will implement proposed improvements. So adding sidewalks where there weren't sidewalks, or widening sidewalks, creating paths in between buildings, creating, as I said, these interior roads to split up the blocks. And it's been pretty successful as this tool. You can see to the right here, this is kind of what's been built thus far. So what's been completed in terms of trails, and now the Special Services District is just to the south. But you can see right here, this has been built kind of an interpathway on this kind of super block right there. I know right now there's a lot of construction happening here, so this is in the next 12 to 18 months. There
Give
should
some
be-
orientation, street names, so we have some idea.
Oh, sorry, yeah, this is Presidential
Yeah, I know.
Ave. This is Presidential Avenue.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of stuff that should be changing in the next 1 to 2 years being implemented because of this official map. Yeah.
So can you have a multi-municipal official map?
That's an interesting question. It's not specifically specified, but
It's possibly something that we could see a coordinated effort among neighboring municipalities to adopt complementary official maps through one kind of combined effort. I'm not sure if it would apply in the same way as like a regional comprehensive plan, though.
Because I'm thinking like,
Never been faced this.
you know,
before.
using the same kind of idea that Lower Merion has where it's specific to an area. And I don't know, let me just throw out an area like maybe a multi-municipal official map for Old York Road, Eric. I just threw that off the top. of my head.
We're focused on.
Um,
I think it would be a sum of the parts kind of thing. I mean, I don't know that the implementation would still have to be at each municipal level.
right.
But certainly 3 municipalities adopting an official map, as John said, to complement each other, right, look for the same goals, makes a lot of sense.
And you can obviously embark on that effort, you know, in an agreeable way, whether it has the same power that, you know, it would then probably require that each municipality take action.
Probably like step 6 or 7. Step 1.
Is the official map, the designation a state designation?
yes, it's in the MPC. Yeah, one other interesting thing here that Lower Merion is doing is where there are gaps in the network, where developers, they're going to, they probably can have the funds to complete those gaps. So you can see kind of like where the dots are. That's where Lower Merion plans to step in and put sidewalks or trail connections. So
Is this something we want to get developers involved in from a global standpoint? In other words, you know, if the developers know that these maps exist or are going to exist, it'll enlighten them to say, well, maybe I want to go and talk to Lansdale Borough before I get too far down the line.
yeah, no, that's a really good point. And that's why the fact many municipalities do publish their official maps on their website and communicate them out, but there are some that don't. And that seems like an awful practice. Yeah.
The secret menu, when people have it.
Yeah, Upper Hanover, for example,
Yeah.
as Upper Hanover, yeah, it's on file.
There's the Home Builders Association, Bucks Montgomery County Home Builders Association. You could filter everything through the director, which is, she's over in Fort Washington, and say, hey, why don't you put this out to your members, which are like 800 or 900 or something, and let them know what's coming, and we would solicit and we would like them to comment or give suggestions.
Yeah, I think developers, in my experience, is they want to know what it is.
Yeah, because that way they're not, no, but then they're not wasting their time on the front end, designing something that's not gonna be palatable.
And that's what the sketch plan too is in the same kind of
Yes.
way to make.
A little lukewarm about the sketch plan process, but anyhow, I think, one of the emerging advantages to doing official maps now is just what John's doing in Lansdale, which is you have that GIS layering of what's going on in their township already, to connect that to some future planning effort. If you didn't have that before. So before it was a map that was drawn. And I think if there's a way to incorporate that GIS factor to it, it makes it maybe more manageable. But there's a lot of startup in it, right? Yeah.
So quickly, I know we're kind of running towards the end of time here, but West Conshohocken, we did want to identify them. We haven't yet had conversations about their official map. It was adopted in 2023, but it's kind of a different thing because it's a borough, and it's primarily focused on transportation, but they kind of took the latitude to do a bunch of different improvements from obviously trails they identify there, roadway improvements, but also parking improvements. They identified meadows here in between the on-ramps that they want to see. So identifying that was an interesting case study. And then something that we talk about so often with municipalities, signage. So welcome signage, wayfinding signage, they have that identified on their official map. So to us, that was a unique use case, and we want to find out more about that, how that came about. So beyond Monco, we have talked about this. Chester County is kind of, they have the crown in terms of official maps, 17 municipalities. They did a lot of outreach in the 90s. Almost all of them preserve open space. Bucks County is kind of on our level, though they don't communicate their official maps to the public as well.
Only 2 of them
Are digitally accessible, yeah.
Because they're still in the 20th century.
And they're older official maps too.
online.
Yeah. And then Delco has none, which was shocking to us, but it is a more built out place, speaking to the traditional use case. And then Berks only have 2. Then we've thought about even expanding our search into Lehigh County or Northampton County, where there's a lot more kind of development happening, just to see what's going on in Lancaster. But basically, what are we trying to do with this guide? We're trying to really educate our municipalities in particular about what's available to them, to see if we can have more official maps. We can show them the benefits to having official maps. We're thinking about a Planning Smarter event, maybe presenting at a conference, maybe putting a video together so that we can reach even more people throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah, basically just to make the official map more friendly, see that it's more than just open space preservation tool, and making sure that it becomes more widely adopted.
I got an idea for a video.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Remember Schoolhouse Rock, the wheel? Yeah. Same thing, and just convert it to an official map.
Yeah, we want to make the official map, less daunting to municipalities. We want to help spread awareness in the general public. So, if that means making video, I think that's something that MCPC has kind of dipped our toes into a little bit. But however we reach out, after a guidebook and a Planning Smarter event, we want to make the case to as many municipalities as possible. Whether they are developing, if they have a redevelopment area, and even if they are built out, I think that's the harder case to make. And so we have been puzzling over that. We are looking for any ideas you have, any questions you still have.
I just gave you one. I'm not just.
Just gonna open it up to the whole room before we.
I know we're short on time. Do you?
Stephen of that video?
Again,
I think we got a few people.
just keep going.
That's it.
I just want to keep going. Time. Another thing that the right of first refusal entails is that the official map provides the municipality 12 months to indicate its interest in purchasing.
Yes.
Or working out some sort of agreement. And so it does buy the municipalities some time.
Yes.
Do you see a lot of the details you would expect to see on the official map in maps that show up in the comprehensive plan of a lot of municipalities?
Yeah, I'd say that, what we see on the official map, in the best case scenario, is taking those things that they bothered to plan for and hope for and map, and just collect them in one place. So,
The compilation and easy to access.
Exactly. So people aren't having to go through the whole comp plan and the whole open space plan and the whole trails plan. They can just look at the official map for what the municipality actually wants to do.
There's a whole host of places where improvements can get categorized.
Yes.
This one just happens to have MPC support behind it to make sure that they actually get in.
We should figure out a way where the planning commission can help municipalities put together an official map beyond the video. And, we have a pretty robust GIS department, for example. And we could winnow down plans that the municipalities have put together, perhaps with a little grant funding. and therefore encourage municipalities who would otherwise be so inclined but not have the wherewithal or the time or the expertise to put together an official map to help them do so on a relatively expedited basis.
Is this something that would be under a planning contract?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah, certainly. And it's something that could be a focused project or, sort of a flexible systems that we do in tandem with another project. But I think just building on Bob said about the home builders and Steve said about the sketch plan process and then I think in this time where we're looking at how to expedite land development, particularly for housing and how to get things through the process quicker. I think this is a great tool for that. And in building with potentially the sketch plan process to, put out there what communities want. And if you follow certain things, it could be a policy for communities is that, you'll get through the process faster. And you'll get to building and getting those units and getting your return on your investment quicker than you might otherwise have.
That's going to be music to their ears.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Until it happens.
As long as you're proposing what's on there.
All right.
Now let's see.
Next up is our work program review. I'm gonna call on Scott.
Yes.
I did have one thing I've mentioned. Step out of here. I'll be here. I'm just gonna go. So.
We're giving you the gavel to go see it.
No, he promised me no code. That's what I was talking about. I had to promise no code. So.
Welcome any managers or join whatever seats we have. Also, for board members, digitally Friday, you received a copy. This is a printout of that copy. It's identical. If anyone needs one or wants one.
Yeah. I wasn't here. You're a good person at the last meeting.
I'll just pass it on.
This is version 1.
There's like 6 of them, so.
Yes, version 1, 1.2. See, that's what you do to me when I read the early one. I just get screwed. Yeah.
Overly. Usually, but I think.
Oh, come on.
Oh, yeah.
See, I should have asked you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't share it yet.
And
I'm running now.
you don't care. I don't either. So that's.
While he's getting that queued up, just another note on the document itself. Like I said, this version 1.2 was finalized Friday and that was sent out in your packet digitally. It will add whatever comments we received today or whatever edits are needed. We actually still have a final proofing element, although it's pretty solid, but just, again, trying to catch any typos. So the very final no longer to be edited version will likely come next week or as soon as possible. And we'll, like I said, today we'll take any comments. If you have anything written or want to give us, we'll look at that as well, and we appreciate that. Okay, let's just jump into it. Some of you have been through this format, this process. It is very similar to the last few years since we revamped the work program process, but some of you are new too. So I'm going to try to give the right amount of introduction to it. I have the slides. I always like to start with our org chart, who we are, who does the work. The difference from a year ago is it looks a lot cleaner. Our sections are still essentially the same as they always been. Obviously, some titles and names change along the way. But we really cleaned up, or had an opportunity to clean up the executive management top of it at the beginning of this year of 2025 with the departure of Matt Edmond, and Patty has stepped into the deputy director role while overseeing the administration and communications elements. So it's a cleaner looking org chart, and I like that. And I also think that also is more effective. So let's get into the structure of the document, why we did this in the first place, and why I think it's continued to serve us in a positive way. Before 2020, our work programs were really organized by each section. What work were they going to do? What projects were on the table? And we'd go through that and we'd kind of track it that way. When we revamped it, we wanted to have a more issues-oriented or thematic approach and also try to tie it to the comp plan better. So that's what we've been doing. We have
these focus topics, which we'll go through. They have not changed from last year or a few years now. And we'll go through each one and explain what they are, so I won't take that time now. But there are other projects outside of the focus topics. Most of them do fit within that, but our comprehensive plan is obviously a huge effort and stands on its own as our major initiative over the last several years. 26 is the big news or the big finish line that we hope to reach, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Our signature programs is where we put both our grant programs, a new one up, the KPIs I'll be talking about in a moment, farmland preservation and planning education, which incorporates a number of things, including Montgomery Awards, Planning Smarter, and training courses. And then the core function section, I will describe that. That's all the other work that we do on an almost daily basis or a cyclical basis that is not necessarily fitting in within a thematic project, but is as important to the work we do and much of it's required. And then Eric will talk about the Community Planning Assistance Program, and there's a great guide to what's happening in each municipality in a concise format within this stuff. So final word on the structure. If you hope you've had a chance to look at it, there's a table in each section that identifies the project, who's doing it, and the time frame. And then following that, there's more descriptions, still kept to blurb length, as I like to call it, but giving you a better idea, a sense of what that project is and what it's attempting to do. The real important part here that I like to stress every year is how we also, when expanding this work program, wanted to be cognizant of the that we're not confined to a calendar year and that a lot of this work is ongoing or has different timeframes. So just to be specific, when we designate something short, medium, or long-term, short-term are those projects we expect to accomplish in the next year. So by the end of 2026 in this case. That's the expectation. Doesn't always happen, but things do get in the way. Medium is something we know is going to take a little longer, either purposefully or just the breadth of the project. So in 1 to 2 years. So in this case, anything expected to be done by 2027 would be designated as such. Long-term is essentially 3 years. So where we know it's going to take longer, but also includes things that really, in all honesty, don't necessarily have an end date, that they're essentially ongoing. So I think that's clear when you look at those types of projects. Okay, so before we hand it over, and we're going to have a gallery here of presenters getting up and talking about the projects they're working on. Again, the goal is to keep it very brief today, and you're not going to obviously hear about a lot of them. We wanted to highlight what we felt were the most compelling, significant, or new, as well as touching on a few, the achievements along the way to keep that in scope. I will say, last thing I'll say up front, we're very aware. It's a robust document, and every year I draw the analogy to my family. My siblings have a running joke. My mother will say each holiday season, Christmas is going to be smaller this year as we grew and grew in our household, and it never was. So I like to say that at the beginning of every work program, we're going to tighten it up. We're going to condense it a little bit, maybe a little less ambitious. Doesn't, in the end, I'm not sure it comes out that way, but I also think we also have a lot of great talent. Our org chart, our staff that has been really more stable in the last 2 years has, I think, allowed us to find leaders at a younger age, at a younger experience level that are capable of doing a lot of this work. So I think we're balancing out a little bit there, as seen today with people like John and Adam stepping up for a project like the official map. And there's others we'll touch on. So I'm going to hand it off to Eric. Thank you for walking up because I wouldn't remember.
That's fine. All right, let's
Get this party started. Typographical type things, send them to you at a later time.
Absolutely. As quickly as possible though, because we do want to get it wrapped. And if you do have a question, feel free to interrupt. We'll have a larger discussion at the end.
And if you mark up what you have in front of you, I'll take it with you today.
Yes.
All right, just a refresher. So placemaking is about using collaborative, people-based, interdisciplinary process to ensure properly designed and built environments, especially for our downtowns, our business centers, industrial parks, and our rural villages as well. So the three big accomplishments from 2025 under this category, the Parkside Playground revitalization in Upper Gwynedd Township. We're really honored actually to be part of this process. I mean, you were at the, hopefully in the board tour, we got to go visit the park itself. It's been a destination facility for the last 30 years. It's kind of had its life and they want to replace it. It needs to be replaced, but it's a beloved playground. So it was a process that involved a lot of community outreach. We did a number of surveys. We went to a lot of community events. We did surveys at the park itself, involved a lot of kids. And then they had a steering committee and we did a visioning process with them. The final vision plan was presented at the end of last year. Got a lot of great feedback and acceptance. Hope to finalize that and make a presentation to the Board of Supervisors earlier this year and get that finalized. And then, of course, the challenge will be going for the grants and getting that funded. So that was just a great, exciting project. And I know they appreciated our assistance with that as well. Action Park Concept Plan in East Greenville. This was a small 4-acre park. It's actually the largest in East Greenville, but still was an underutilized, almost forgotten park in their sort of colonial village part of the borough. They got it when the homeowner association dissolved a number of years ago. And so they're finally getting around to really trying to activate that park, creating some trails, putting in some ADA accessible parking, as well as increasing the landscaping and stormwater management of the site. So that's been a great advantage for them. They've already used that as going out as the basis for grant applications for that. Saldo updates, we've been working with Norristown, Municipality of Norristown and Springfield. Drafts of those have been completed. For a lot of our saldo updates in particular, in addition to the plan processing and some of the more mundane pieces of it, it's really about updating their landscaping portion of the park, of the saldo ordinance. And that's been really important and valuable to the communities. We've also done a lot of design testing of that to illustrate to the communities what it will look like when it gets built. And then that also allows us to do some tailoring of those standards to match what the community wants and what their goals are. So getting into some of our initiatives for 2026 under placemaking, Bridgeport Borough Streetscape project. So they've just adopted the zoning ordinance last year that we wrote for them. We're in the process now of updating their subdivision and land development ordinance, of which design is going to be a key piece. They've also just had 350 townhomes built on the riverfront. About another 260 are going to come in the form of apartments. So they're really hoping that that influx of new development and people and wallets and feet on the ground is going to provide some revitalization and expansion of their downtown. So they want to be sure they're in a good position to leverage future development to get the streetscape in the downtown that they want moving forward. So again, it's going to be a steering committee of the borough and a lot of public input and really trying to make sure that we create the streetscape standards that the community wants and is going to implement their other goals through their comprehensive plan that we did a few years ago, but make sure that we get it through the land development process. So again, that'll be a great project. And then the last two, I'm going to let Marley discuss as well. Marley.
Hi, good morning. So yeah, wanted to touch on two other key initiatives under placemaking for 2026. We're currently working on 2 active transportation plans, kind of a newer plan type that we're having municipalities request of us, and just really excited about the placemaking potential of these types of projects. And these are both being worked on by multidisciplinary team. Like from the start, we really have to, it's led by community planners, but from the start, we really have to bring in our design planners and transportation planners on this type of project. And we've also had the benefit of coordinating with the TMAs in each of these communities. There are also great examples of being able to utilize our public outreach expertise within our department. So these are both led by diverse steering committees at the local level, engaging those active community groups that are already advocating on walkability and bikeability in particular. But for a few examples, with the Lower Merion and Narberth Active Transportation Plan, which is also unique in that it's multi-municipal, we utilize Survey 123, which is that Esri platform, to do their community survey. So we were able to combine more traditional survey questions with a series of interactive maps. And for that, we had over 1,800 survey responses and 242 individual feedback points on the maps that we had to go through. For Lansdale, they utilized the Engage Montgo platform, created a page just for that project. They also did borough, like larger scale borough scale walk audit and bike audit. That was not feasible at the Lower Merion scale. So, able to implement lots of different tools and data analysis that way. For Lower Merion and Narberth, we are wrapping that project up the first couple months of this year. And it'll be an all digital platform. So again, using Esri, we're using a web experience format for that. And you can see the screenshot of the homepage of that web experience in the top right there. Really unique platform that we've settled on, and the network is able to be provided in these interactive maps. So a series of more inventory of their transportation infrastructure and the recommendations all on interactive maps. And we've also went the step of finding 4 locations and did site visits and detailed conceptual designs, really illustrating how to use various active transportation infrastructure. So exciting this year. Another project we'll be wrapping up this year is our model landscape regulations. This is part of a larger effort to update our model subdivision and land development ordinance, which was last updated in 2012. The 2012 model saldo only had 8 pages on landscaping, and those were really a carryover from the 1993 model landscape regulations. So that's understandably been our focus, and Eric mentioned also how our communities are asking for more holistic and best management based landscape regulations. So that's been our focus on updating that and releasing it as a standalone module.
For new landscaping or preservation?
Sorry?
For new landscaping or for preservation of?
Both. Yes, combination. Yeah, definitely. Preservation first and foremost. Want to incentivize that, and then replace and support tree canopy and important vegetation where we can. So the product there will be 3 components: that illustrated best practices manual, really building all of the research that's model ordinance is based on, having that all in one place, as well as a recommended plant chart. And we plan to be back on your agenda, hopefully in the next couple months, to discuss more about that. Because it's, again, a multidisciplinary team working on this, and finding that it's a really important opportunity to integrate the other policies and recommendations that the department has been working on in terms of green parking. The TOD model ordinance kind of laid the groundwork for this, emphasizing how landscaping is integral to all levels of good design and placemaking, as well as our climate change and resiliency efforts, trying to incorporate those. And once that's completed, we'll move on to other components of the saldo, with probably the first focus would be on envisioning a new complete streets module. So more to come on that. Now I think I hand it over to John.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm going to briefly speak on our environmental resiliency efforts. So I like to talk about the great things that I've done in the past year. But I want to stress that, well, of course, personally.
That's what it sounded like.
But I wanted to use that to juxtaposition the comment of everything that we do environmentally is done in coordination with other sections, with other stakeholders. I was being facetious with my self-praise. A little bit when I have to, but I managed doing his part. He's trying to save the world a little bit. Yeah, one paved road at a time. So this year in 2025, a lot of our work has focused on energy and stormwater. We were able to release the model solar ordinance and our building energy conservation toolkit. Both of these tools were done in collaboration both with DVRPC and with Chester County, and are striving to help our municipalities really tackle climate change mitigation through reduction of energy consumption and the inclusion of renewable energy, specifically solar. We have seen a lot of work being done in these fields, and we felt with the model ordinance, it was definitely time to update that to give the new best practices, and also to prepare our communities in the hope for larger scale solar developments that we may see throughout the county. And then with the building energy, our municipalities are always asking, what can we do to reduce our energy consumption? And can be a somewhat limited scope, but that does not mean that action can't occur. And this toolkit, are striving to help our municipalities find those levers to reduce building energy consumption. There's that work along with our other work around, here I have to give credit to Matt and transportation about EV infrastructure. You know, we were able to, we did a Planning Smarter event, Let's Get Energized, which was very successful, where we were bringing in some of our partners and we talked about these new tools that we have out and got municipal feedback, and we will continue to do so. So not only were we saving the world through energy, we did a ton of work around stormwater and watershed planning. We were able to we partnered with Representative Joe Webster's office to get a DEP grant to do a flood mapping, a Perkiomen watershed mapping and flood mitigation study. That is a mouthful. But what it has done was a very detailed look at the Perkiomen watershed. It did hydrology. It did stakeholder outreach to create a baseline of the watershed and identify the top 20 problem areas in that watershed. What areas are really causing flooding in the Perkiomen? And our consultant HRG was then able to give planning level solution options for each of those problem areas. The plan has recently been completed. There was a press event last week that was attended by Representative Webster and all three of our commissioners. So we are going to, that has been completed. Though there are implementation projects that are in process right now that include the funding of a Reef Park watershed stormwater project, along with water quality monitoring that will be put into the Perkiomen to measure our success as these projects and as projects throughout the watershed move forward. So what are we going to do next year? So shockingly, we will continue to tackle stormwater and flooding. Not only will we continue the implementation of the Perkiomen watershed project, we have a Montgomery County stormwater study that was funded through a grant that we will complete very soon, and then work for implementation of that. We will be continuing our efforts in the Wissahickon Water Quality Improvement Plan, which is an alternative to the TMDL as proposed by EPA, is under review by EPA and DEP. We are working with the municipalities on a consortium agreement on how that plan will be implemented. We will continue those efforts. And in very near future, we will do what we hope is a new web experience around the watershed. So much is going on between the Perkiomen, between the Wissahickon. The Skip-Back is finding innovative ways to tackle stormwater management. And then our whole countywide efforts, along with hopefully a countywide Act 167 plan, which is a possibility in the coming year. How can we send this messaging to our communities through a web experience, which will be like fun, interactive, all those things that we want to see and really engage our supporters, our stakeholders. As you know, the county has recently hired a chief sustainability officer, Davy Ramkasoon. She is doing excellent work. One of the things that is top on her priority list is a county sustainability plan. Montgomery County has an adopted climate action plan called Greenprint. Though it was adopted in 2007, it is a little dated at this point. Davy's work will take that plan, update it, incorporate the work of new stakeholders, how the county through its operations, through its policies, through the regulations, everything that the county can do and control, how can we become more sustainable? the planning commission will be partnering with her to help and support her during that process. And then last, but certainly not least, to highlight, the county a couple of years ago did a potential climate change vulnerability analysis. That map is highlighted here. We are all vulnerable to climate change, but some communities are more vulnerable than others based on their built environment and the people who live there. All of our communities are vulnerable, and many of our communities are coming to us and saying, what can we do? How can we handle this? What can we do to adapt, to mitigate? Community planning, Margot Petruska had an excellent idea of we should create a resource, a toolkit, a hub. We have so much interest in these topics, have something where a municipality can come and get the resources that they need from the Planning Commission in one single cohesive spot where there is a narrative that drives change. So we will be, taking the tools that we have, we will be creating new tools, and we will be working collaboratively with the other surrounding counties to create this toolkit that will, like I said, allow our municipalities, one location, one spot to really think about and act upon climate change as we move forward. Because in our current environment, pun intended, action has to be driven locally, not federally. And our municipalities are eager for action and things that they can do. We hope to provide their guidance. I am done. I am not scared to answer questions but I need to leave here, and I actually am going upstairs for the kickoff for Davy Ramkissoon's County Sustainability Plan. So if anybody has any burning questions now, feel free to ask before I run away. If not, Scott can. What would be in the toolkit? Like what would, if somebody went to this, what's the envisionment of this adaptation toolkit? Like what is the vision for it? Yeah. What would be provided? So the hope is that it'll probably be an online tool. And we will be able to collect the myriad of resources that we have, the things that we already have, the model solar ordinance, the building energy toolkit, the EV fully charged. Marley just talked about the model landscape ordinance, which will account for climate change. Bringing all of the wide variety of tools that exist, both that we've created and that are trusted tools outside of the county, like things that DVRPC has done, things that Chester County has done, Delaware County, and pulling it together into one cohesive package where when our municipalities come to us and say, what can we do? We can point to it and say, here is how you can affect change. And really it's the packaging of all the good work that this organization has done and our partner organizations, and then also creating the tools that are needed to fill any gaps that we see. So will it be map-based or will it just be information-based? So if somebody went in and, clicked on an area that was a high value potential risk, would there be specific tools that would come up for that area as opposed to an area that was on a low value? We haven't even had our kickoff meeting. Okay. So, if you would like, and I'm probably speaking out of turn, there may be an opportunity early in the process to come to this board, and I think it would be valuable to say, this is what would be, from your experience, what would be most valuable, and to see if we can meet those needs.
One parallel might be the active transportation pocket guide, which was a way of consolidating a lot of information, but I think there's a lot more substance to be pulled out with this topic. So it could be a version of that, but not quite the same.
But much cooler than anything transportation could do.
And with John walks out.
Drop the pointer and leave. Any other questions for John? Thank you very much.
Everyone, about to go half the time you have. Sorry, I'm running behind. Thank you.
I'm already talking like I've had too much coffee, so I'm good. I already already tell. I'm already. I'm not trying to be all the time. Effective growth and preservation. Again, ensuring that growth is managed in a way that accommodates population and business growth in the county, while preserving and enhancing quality of life for both the built areas and the rural resource areas. Our accomplishments from 2025, the school district enrollment studies. This was a banner year for those. We actually did 5, county planning, did those for 5 school districts, including a first of its kind one for the North Monco Technical Career Center. We got a more specific presentation on that at our October away board meeting. But more interesting too, 3 of the 4 other plans that we did were returning school districts, I think, which reinforces the value that those products are providing for those districts. The last 2 accomplishments and the first initiative will be discussed by Bill.
Morning. So yes, Monco Forever Green. This was a program that formalized our open space grant program. It was launched on September 1st of the past year. We have about $2 million allocated. Well, we have $2 million allocated in 2026 to provide funding through a grant application process to municipalities and nonprofit organizations with a conservation mission. At the end of 2025, we did grant $380,000 already out of this program. So that was great news to Lower Moreland and Lower Salford. And there's continued strong interest going into 2026. The open space comprehensive GIS layer and database. As you may remember, we updated our trail GIS layer in 2024. We undertook an effort in 2025 to update our open space layer and to expand the information that's on it and the attributes that are available for staff as well as the public. And at the end of last year, we officially put this up on the GIS portal, data portal for the county as an authoritative layer that shows all of the protected open space across Montgomery County. The first initiative I'm going to address going forward for this year is the Trails and Open Space Strategic Plan. This has been a long effort, but I'm happy to report that we have finally a full draft of it. It's under initial review by Scott and some others within the Planning Commission. After that, it'll go upstairs for review by some of the people at the higher levels of the county. As the name implies, this project addresses strategies going forward for our open space and our trail network across the county. It addresses foundational information about each of these topics, terminology, the mechanics of how to build trails and how to protect open space. It talks about some of the history of both of these topics. And then it gets into strategic information going forward. We have really good inventory and analysis looking at both trails and open space. And we have sections for both that address consideration and priorities going forward for the next 5 years. We anticipate having final review of this document in the first half of this year, followed by adoption.
Next initiative, it will be the Douglas Revitalization Plan update. They did a revitalization plan in 2012. So this will be an update to that plan that you see there in the middle for revitalizing Gilbertsville. The one focus of this is going to be looking a little bit more at the design of the corridor and pedestrian connectivity. They have some new supervisors, and that's been something that they've really wanted to stress throughout this corridor. Of course, it's Route 73 feeding into Route 100, so it is a highly traveled area. The interesting thing and challenge for this study is a tale of 2 cities kind of thing. They have kind of an older residential mixed area portion of the corridor, and then they have the more traditional strip commercial portion of the corridor. So we want to come up with design standards and connectivity plans that work for both of those areas. And that's really why the design process is going to be key in focusing in on those unique aspects of the corridor. And then the energy working group. We're going to be participating in a bi-weekly development working group, interdepartmental working group that's going to involve the Chief Sustainability Officer, the Deputy COO, the Commerce Department, Assets and Infrastructure, really looking at the evolving energy issues facing the county. The first one that we're going to be focusing on is the data centers, which we talked about at last month's meeting. And so we're going to be focusing more on that, providing what guidance we can, potentially a model ordinance to the communities. I think they're in the process now of planning an event for the end of February, early March, to again highlight the issues and how the county can be of assistance and potentially some model language for that. So that'll be really key moving forward. There's been a lot of, this is still an extremely evolving topic. I just saw an article yesterday in the Wall Street Journal. We've heard Microsoft just yesterday, I think also has made some comments about that data centers and how they're going to help with the energy costs. So this is a big topic that we want to help our municipalities deal with the best that we can. Again, interesting, it was a key component of the Plymouth contract that they want assistance with this as well. And we'll talk about housing.
Okay, can you believe it has taken us until 11 in the morning to talk about housing? All right, in 2025, when the county planning section wasn't working on the comprehensive plan, we have been trying to spend time talking about housing attainability. One of the things that we've been doing, back to the topic of an interdepartmental working group, is that we have been collaborating with other departments, Commerce Department, Housing Office, some of the commissioners' policy staff to work on a 2026 housing blueprint. This has not been released to the public yet, though it has been mentioned in some media articles. We wanted to be sure that we were ready to hit the ground running when the state releases its housing plan, which seems imminent. This housing blueprint is a document that outlines all of the things the county has been doing to address housing costs as well as homelessness, and then lines up several projects that we intend to work on going forward in 2020. So I anticipate that you will be seeing more of that soon.
Are we now using attainability as opposed to affordable? Are they interchangeable or are they not?
We struggle, I think, with what the correct word to use is, what the least offensive word to use is. They certainly mean the same thing, but we don't want people to get confused that we are only focusing on affordable housing or subsidized housing. We're really talking about having more housing for everybody.
I think that's an interesting, I've been thinking about it since the first time I saw it, and then I was going back and forth. It feels like it might be a good change in certain places.
I don't want to forget about the work that the community planning section does. They're a key part of this work in that they are working with our individual municipalities that have individual needs. And, you know, in this case, this is a picture of an accessory dwelling unit in North Wales, and that was something that Tim Kenichi worked on. We do a lot of work to help tweak local zoning codes to make sure that they are getting the housing that they envision seeing in their municipalities. And lastly, we've continued to offer a service of local zoning audits to promote housing attainability. We are wrapping up an audit for Talmenson, and Adam, who has already disappeared, and I are collaborating on an audit for Narberth. They're hoping to have an open house, I think in late February, to invite people to come and discuss housing issues in the borough. They've got several different things going on in terms of new construction and potential for creating more attainable housing in their own small confines of Narberth. So there's a lot to discuss there as well. Going forward, one of the things we are tackling in 2026, and I say we in a very broad sense, is that we hope to complete a housing needs assessment study. It is something that is identified in this housing blueprint, but we hope to not do this ourselves. We intend to hire a consultant to work with us to complete a deeper look at what our municipal housing needs are, what we have currently, what's lacking in our municipalities, and what the zoning changes might be to help us get to a place where we have the housing types that we need to house people sustainably going forward. One of the things we are doing in-house is to work on housing, an update to our housing series that we did back in the early 2000s. We called it Promoting Workforce Housing. I'm not sure we're going to call it Workforce Housing in this new document, and there is no updated image because I don't know what it's going to look like yet. We are, it is something that is going to be more of a use guidance document looking at housing types based on scale. Small, single detached house size, medium attached unit size, and so on and so forth. Try to give municipalities the guidance they need to allow for more housing units to be built. Last but not least, we are working on a guidebook for inclusionary housing, which in this case is a really specific thing, and that we are seeing an increase in municipalities that are getting proposals where developers are voluntarily including a handful of income restricted units, not so that there would only be 10 or 15 or 20 units set aside in a larger development, but municipalities don't know what to do with this type of proposal. They don't necessarily have the staff structure in place to oversee affordability going forward. But we do. We have staff that can help. We have guidance that we can offer leasing offices and landlords to say, okay, here's what you need to do as you are screening tenants to move into your community. Take these steps and we will help you along the way. With that, I am going to hand things back over to Bill.
All right, no need to describe what I'm going to be talking about. Trail network across the county. Looking back at this past year, Trail Junction Center groundbreaking occurred in October of 2025. The contractor mobilized just this month. I'll get into a little bit more detail in the specific slides about 2026. As you may remember, this is a $5.6 million renovation of the prior freight station that's located at the intersection of the Calvin Lafayette Streets right here in Norristown. It will serve the community as well as trail users. Second thing from 2025, safety upgrades at existing trail crossings. This is a little bit of a minor topic that we deal with in the trail section because we usually look forward to building new things, but there are crossings around the county that require upgrades, whether it's new flashing, rapid flashing beacons or better crosswalks, better signage. We upgraded 2 trail crossings in 2025. The crossing of the Pennypack Trail of Byberry Road up to the top of the county at the right near the border of Lower Moreland and Upper Moreland Townships. And we also upgraded in conjunction with Parks, a crossing of the Perkiomen Trail over Gravel Pike in Perkiomenville. And then lastly, we did achieve the milestone of 100 miles of the primary trail network being constructed. This was done not with some big trail project that was miles long. It was actually achieved through some small projects, including the Pennypack Trail extension in Rockledge, which was just about 1/3 of a mile long. We also have sections of the Cross County Trail being constructed in Fort Washington Office Park, primarily by the Upper Dublin Municipal Authority. And we also built a small trail segment that's about a mile long in Camp Laughing Waters in New Hanover Township that was part of that overall preservation effort last 2 years ago. That's interesting. Okay, so looking forward, as you know, the Cross County Trail is a major focus of the trail section, major push right now as well as in the years to come. About 20 miles of the Cross County Trail will exist in the future. That's what the overall length is from where it starts in Conshohocken all the way up into Brynatham Borough. About 9 of those are built. Right now, we're engineering or about to construct about 10 miles of the Cross County Trail, which 10 plus 9 gets you to 19. So we're almost there in terms of just planning and engineering. We have about $40 million, as you may remember, on the tip to help us in the engineering and construction efforts for this major trail within Montgomery County. The circles on this map show the major projects that we're currently working on. I'm not going to go into the details of those, except to say that the Cross County Trail and Wissahickon Trail through the Erdenheim Farm area in White Marsh Township is a project that was talked about before I came to the county in 2020. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm praying that I'm not jinxing this, that we will go to advertise this project sometime in the middle of this year. We're making really good progress on a number of fronts for that. That is a highly anticipated project and would make a big difference in the construction of the Cross County Trail going forward. Second project I wanted to highlight for 2026 are some Norristown projects. We came to you in December and talked about these projects. There are 3 of them: the Lafayette Street Trail Gateway Master Plan, the Trail Junction Center, as well as the trailhead improvements at Hawes Street and Hawes Avenue and Chain Street in Norristown. The Trail Junction Center, as I mentioned, is under construction. We have a detour of the Chester Valley Trail in place. It's actively going on right now. We anticipate completion of that project sometime in around December of this year. So about a 12-month building process for that project. That top photo on the left is, you can see the contractor mobilizing just a couple of weeks ago. And then the slides on the right are an existing photo of Chain Street and the plan for how we're going to improve that trailhead in the bottom right. We're currently working with Pico and Norristown to get the proper agreements and amendments in place. So we have total site control to make these improvements. We anticipate construction documents being completed this year, and we hope to advertise those construction projects sometime in the fall. So that's exciting. That's been a long process. It's been in the works for a couple of years. And then you've seen this project before, the Schuylkill River Trail 422 connector. We had a little bit of a hiccup last year with one of our permits, so we had to delay it a year. The good news is that our final hurdle of having some Verizon lines moved looks like that's actually happening this week, and we anticipate mobilizing for construction at the end of this month into early February. This will be a 6-month construction project. As you may remember, this is the last remaining portion of the Schuylkill River Trail to be built in Montgomery County. Once this is built, it will mean that you can ride approximately 50 miles from Philadelphia all the way to Birdsboro in Berks County. So this is a small but mighty trail segment. It's only about 3/4 of a mile long, but this is going to provide that final connection point to get you so that you can make that full journey from Philadelphia out to Berks. That's all I have. Who's next? Matt. Thank you.
The old world of transportation is dying. The new world of transportation has yet to be born. Now is the time of, I don't know, struggles, challenges, difficulties. Revolution, perhaps.
But evolution for sure. Wow.
Just wanted to wake everybody up a little bit.
Get your place now.
We had a couple of accomplishments that we were able to take part in 2025. Section C of the Ridge Pike Improvement Project was our biggest hurdle to get into. As a reminder, this is going to be the last construction project for Ridge Pike out of the 4 sections that we have. There are over 140 different right-of-way claims that are going to need to be processed by the transportation section, the Montgomery County Transportation Authority. We are into that process now and starting to go up the steep bell curve in order to get all of this accomplished. Of course, John Lesher left, so he's not going to hear how well that the transportation section worked with the environmental section, not just on that Planning Smarter effort, but also the fully charged online product, which is mapping and online guidance that is able to provide our communities with exactly how to take these EV charging stations that they would like to put in and implement them in the best possible places around the municipality. So I will take the high road and say we absolutely enjoyed working with the environmental section and look forward to many more collaborations in the future. And our final achievement is working in cooperation with the comprehensive plan that is still upcoming, and you'll hear about, I believe, in a little bit. The Transportation Improvement Inventory Project Review, we had submissions over 680 from around the county, which we are still attempting to refine and compile together to make sure that we have a robust map of transportation project ideas, from the biggest possible ideas to something as small as a crosswalk improvement or signage, that we will be able to fold into Monco 2050 as a vision project map for this comp plan that's coming out later this year. For our 3 items that we're working on in 2026, spoiler alert, this is actually the exact same slide that we had last year for Section A for Ridge Pike. As a reminder, the transportation section is also overseeing between the 4 sections of Ridge Pike. It's about a $240 million overall construction project from engineering, design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. Section A, the portion just east of Lafayette Street in Plymouth Township over the Pennsylvania Turnpike, was supposed to go out to construction last year. We ran into some difficulties working with some utilities, the railroad that happens to be nearby here. We surmounted a good number of those hurdles, and we're now, I believe, onto a much smoother glide path towards actually getting the project out for bidding and construction, which is important in order to get the turnpike to eventually be able to build the off ramps and on ramps for the Ridge Pike Turnpike interchange that's supposed to be located here. If we are able to get out the door this year, they should be able to get out the door with their construction before the end of the decade. Secondly, we're calling this effort Bike Monco 1.5. Now, original Bike Monco was passed in 2018 and has a lot of good information in it and a lot of tips for municipalities to be able to change how the biking culture works in Montgomery County. We've seen a couple of different ways where this has been built upon by our municipalities, but there's also a few things that we just want to go ahead and update. E-bikes really weren't on the scene all that much in 2018. We want to make sure that the policy implementation and rules and regulations are available for it, as well as just taking a second look at our overall proposed network of bicycle facilities. A lot of the time in 2018, we were proposing to put things on some major roads and arterials. Going through 6 or 7 years now of PennDOT Connect's processes and working with municipalities, there's still a lot of hesitation to simply put striping on roads with a lot of traffic volumes. So we're going to take a second look, see if we can change this network. One of the things Mike talked about earlier with the separated bike lanes plan in Abington, trying to do a little bit of a different redesign for this. Maybe we can get it so that municipalities can encourage bicycle infrastructure on some of their lower stress, lower travel roadways, and still make that overall connected network across the county like we were hoping to have with Bike Monco 1.0. And finally, speaking of transitions and changes and evolution, it is about time for us to spend some information and effort and digging through all the data sources that we have access to and conducting some sort of current base of a post-pandemic traffic study. While we are still waiting federal reauthorization of new transportation funding for the next cycle, while we're still waiting things like the Schuylkill River Passenger Rail Authority to enter the next stage of its corridor ID program, we want to get a snapshot as, okay, we're post-pandemic. The various offices that are going to bring people back have probably done so. So we're now about what it's going to be for 2020's traffic. What does that mean? Where are there problems? Using data sources that we have that measure speed information, traffic count volume, looking with our congestion management process at the regional level. Let's get a good base of information, perhaps producing a report on what traffic looks like in Montgomery County, how it relates to our public transportation options, and then using the springboard into our comprehensive plan, try to figure out, okay, what money is available? Where does this need to go? So we are excited for a lot of these particular projects coming up here while still managing a very large construction project. Turn it over to Scott.
I'm gonna step in for this last focus topic. So we're in the home stretch here. And this is really items where we want to figure out new ways to bring in our information and our work to more people in more exciting ways. Some of these are really cool, others are behind the scenes and maybe not so cool. So if I could do anything differently or more so, it would be to make more cool things. Sorry, but for the last year, we updated our database conversion. The software we had expired. It was no longer compatible with Microsoft. So we have moved to Flickr. The benefit of that is it's much more public facing. And so we're working at making that better organized so people can use it. The GIS databases, that's the example of the behind the scenes stuff, but really important and impactful. Our farmland folks have a way of doing their inspections, of tracking what's happening on specific farms in a much more comprehensive and detailed way. And then we initiated a departmental AI working committee. This actually started at the very end of the year, and we're looking forward to really running it through 2026 with all of the opportunities and challenges and issues with AI, and looking at how, I'd say in our case, how it can improve our daily operation and things that we can benefit just from the work that we're doing every day. And then looking bigger picture, is there new work we can do with the benefit of AI and its capabilities that maybe wasn't possible before? And that's something this group is going to be looking at each and every month. Moving on to the upcoming projects, sewer module digitalization. The sewer module, we really did a fantastic job at upgrading all of our Act 247 reviews, land development and subdivision reviews. And modules have still been in kind of the dark ages with a form that gets in, our staff does the review, and it goes into paper file cabinets. So we want to upgrade that too to make it more, again, more efficient, more effective through a digital system and database.
And then our website, this is a big project. We are not the drivers of it, but we are hugely impacted and also have an opportunity here. The county's upgrading its website. Don't look too closely at that. I don't think this is the final mock-up, but just an image I got from them. It's going to be more powerful, have more capability, and we could definitely use it. That's always been a complaint of our current site. But not just the technology of it, the organization of it, how we present things. We've been looking at and need to bring to the finish line a reorganization that is more helpful and intuitive to our audiences. And then finally, I'm going to steal this from Ann. Her section has been working on data dashboards. This has also been a long-term goal that one of those things you just don't have the time when all the other things are happening. But they've already got some really good, solid work that will be ready to be unveiled this year, taking some of our analytical products and reports and putting it in a more user-friendly and more explorative fashion that will benefit. So there's a couple of those in the works right now, mostly geared around construction and housing.
Scott,
Yes.
just one quick question. You said that we're gonna have new graphic design standards. Okay. And the county is also doing all their stuff. Does that mean that we're going to reorient, as we're also going into a 2050 plan, which has different graphics than the one?
It's a huge and timely issue. It's in my director's report to address. It literally just expanded this week. But thank you.
Okay, I was gonna make a joke about how our new planning data dashboard was in the things that are cool bucket, but I'm just gonna move on to the comprehensive plan. Surely you all know what we've been working on. But we're not done. So next year we are totally finishing up this plan. But we're still working with the advisory committee and have to finish drafting this plan. That's basically what the whole rest of my day is devoted to, working on mapping and edits and finding pictures, and it's a lot of moving pieces. Our graphic staff is I think ready to go with starting to actually design this document and put something together that is usable and readable and friendly for people to have by their side for the next 10 years. And then all of the feedback that we still need to get from the public. Part of the municipalities planning code requires that we circulate our draft plan to municipalities and adjacent municipalities and school districts and other planning commissions. So there's a whole effort that has to go into making sure that we get the right feedback that we need from all of our partners and stakeholders. And then, once we get through all of that, we're gonna work on adopting this plan. The last time we did this for MCPC 2040, we had a public event, and we invited people to come join us and watch the commissioners sign off on adopting this document. And I anticipate that we will do the same, and then we will work on implementation, which can take a whole number of different forms. You already heard several different people mention today that their projects dovetail off of the plan, and I anticipate that will be the case going forward. All right, signature programs. I get to talk about how we are still implementing MCPC 2040. One day I will get to toss that aside and take on MCPC 2050, but for now it's still MCPC 2040. We put together an annual implementation update that I think is going to be before you at next month's planning commission meeting. So, that is a way that we try to keep track of how we have been doing in implementing the goals of MCPC 2040. And I think we've been doing a good job, but you'll hear more about that next month. We also have this grant program, which some of you are familiar with. I anticipate that we will be revising the guidelines for this grant program to align with the goals of MCPC 2050. So that is a project that I anticipate taking place in the second half of this year. But before that, we're going to be working on a 10-year assessment of our current grant program to take a little bit of a deeper dive into how effective it has been in implementing municipal projects, how much money we have allocated, spent, and what has the achievement been there. I'm still talking. Open space and farmland preservation program. So you already heard about MCPC Forever Green. Farmland preservation program is doing its best to keep preserving farms. We just preserved our 200th farm under the county's program. And the applications for that program are due in a couple of weeks, February 1st. So, there is a lot of administration that takes place behind the scenes for both the open space program and the farmland preservation program. We have boards that we work with. And there's a lot of maintenance and oversight that takes place. Steve goes out and inspects the bulk of these preserved farms each year, which sounds tedious, but it's kind of fun going and looking at people's farm animals. And with that, planning education moves back to Patty.
So you just get a little cameo of me today. This is my only slide, but there'll be more time in the future for that. So again, I'm going to talk about our Planning Smarter series. This is listed there. I'm going to start off with the Montgomery. No, I'm going to go in with the Montgomery course. Let's start with those PMPEI courses. Every year we offer 4 courses. These are courses that help municipal officials and staff to understand the MPC. It's broken down into 4 courses. That's zoning administration, subdivision and land development, and community planning. We'll be offering those again this year in partnership with PMPEI, and we field on our site. We'll hope to have those actually scheduled by next week, maybe, to have all of them at least know the dates. We also have 3 other Planning Smarter events that we're anticipating. You already heard a little bit about the official map, and there was like a tease that maybe we would have a Planning Smarter with that, and we are hoping that we might be able to do that. It would probably be a webinar, maybe in the early summer, late spring. One of the other things, and there was a tease about it earlier as well, about data centers, and with the sustainability office, and we're partnering with Chester County. That might be in late February, early March, and it really is targeting the municipal officials, what they can do about this big land use that is on each of their doorsteps. And then the stormwater management planning featuring, again, I'm not giving you any new news. John already spilled the beans about the Perkiomen study and the countywide flood study, but we are hoping to have a Planning Smarter event in person on that, maybe during the summer or the early fall. And then, of course, there's the Montgomery Awards program. I now know there's a new board, and I'm looking forward to working with Dulcie, John, and Sandra on that. And there'll be information coming out shortly about when we might be scheduling those things. And then the APAPA conference, we actually apply every year to try to do things there. We may be even doing something at the national conference. We haven't heard yet whether or not one of the things we were might be part of was accepted. But again, as part of our education, we still try to go out there to the conferences, not only learn something, but then also be able to present to our colleagues. So with that, I'm going to give it up to Scott.
Yeah, and this is a brand new one. Key performance indicators. Again, it's a mandate from the county administration. KPIs is what the confusing anagram we're going to use. Anyway, they implemented their Office of Innovation and Strategy has been really guiding this project for the last year, working with every department to come up with what those KPIs are. And the purpose is really to both bring more data to the public and be more reflective in what's happening in our programs throughout the county. And so this obviously spoke to our bread and butter in a lot of ways. And in many ways, I'm glad we're doing it because some of the things we already track, but we don't have as robust a system to keep that alive and to keep that prominent. It also gives cause for creating new measurements that we can do. And then the third trench is new measurements that would be useful, but are very difficult to do, or in some cases not possible. So that's the challenge part of it. So we have about 100 that have been recognized through what we call 15 programs. Some of those are clear that you'd identify with. Others are just specific to types of products they reflect. And you can see just a sampling of some of those metrics that spill out. Some are much more obvious and maybe less impactful. How many grants did we give? How many contracts do we have? But then you get into more detailed things that might help evaluate what we're doing and see are we improving or not. So that is also an exciting effort, and it'll be more public during the second half of 26, but it'll be implemented in the first half as far as the county-wide internal assessment going into the budget process. And core functions, there's a whole chapter that you see about 4 pages. These are all the other things, and I hate saying that because I don't want to diminish, because this is what we do, why we're here in many cases. And it requires the efforts of all departments, including our administrative, graphics, and communications staff. So
I won't go through all the details. You see some of the big ones on the left, starting with our Act 247 reviews, which is not just the planner writing a letter, it's the people involved in getting that letter out, distributing it, proofreading it, doing all the little things, creating maps for the letters. I want to make sure everyone's aware how much effort and collaboration takes place. And finally, community planning contracts. Eric's going to take us in and
Very quickly, yes, I'm sure that everybody's tired of hearing from me already today. So yes, community planning contracts. Thank you. We have 36 municipalities. Again, 35 now. We just added Plymouth for 2026. We have the 4 regional planning commissions, which are still very active. I'll talk about those quickly in a second. We've continued with our fee adjustment plan to meet the program goals. This is where we review our cost revenue analysis every year. We did do a 10% increase in our fees last year, as well as adjusted the differential between the first and second and third year of the contracts. So we'll see how that's affected our cost revenue. I'll be doing those numbers for 2025 very soon. And then in terms of the contract highlights, every community did some great work in 2025 and has some great projects for 2026. And every community planner also did some great work. So I hate to kind of pull things out from that. So please read that section of the work program. There was a lot of great stuff going on. Comprehensive plans still tend to be kind of what our major projects are. We did have comprehensive plans adopted in Horsham and West Norton last year. We also did comprehensive plan implementation reports for North Wales and Jenkintown, sort of a midstream audit of where they are, what they've accomplished. And those have really turned out to work very well for those communities. So we're probably going to be implementing that as maybe a standard project and product that we do for communities that we have done comprehensive plans for. In addition to that, for this year, we have drafts of comprehensive plans for Cheltenham, Lower Gwynedd. We're making significant progress and hope to have Hatfield Boroughs done early this year. Indian Valley, Central Park, Pottstown regions are all working on wrapping up their comprehensive plans and getting them readopted in 2026. We developed new zoning for Hatboro. That's going to be adopted soon with significant design testing to make sure it worked with all of the unique infill parcels in Hatboro. And zoning was adopted for Bridgeport and Douglas as well last year. So again, lots of projects. Please review that section.
Thank you, Eric. And I only have one last comment on the I didn't say up front, especially for our newer members. The other intention with creating this format and this type of document is to really bring it to the public and be public facing with it, whereas our old work programs were not. And so this not only will obviously sit on our website, we'll be sharing it, promoting it, putting it out there, and also to our partners in our administration, commissioner's office. I kind of shove this in front of them as much as I can because you don't know what's happening until someone tells you or you see it later. So it's a really useful tool in that sense. Next year, it will probably look different. We will be ripe for an upgrade, and also with the new comprehensive plan, try to align those visions. So that's what we have. Sorry for going a little late here.
Apologize for going over. I mean, really and truly, when we go through these, we go, phew, we're exhausted. Just recognizing the amount of work that you and the team do. So please, it's important for us to understand that. I don't understand how Bill Hartman is standing after I see everything. He's oblivious to it. I mean, he's already figuring out how many contracts he has to let. It's remarkable the amount of work that the team does. So thank you, and don't apologize for letting us know how hard you're working. We do recognize and we do appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. I mean, congratulations to you and the whole team, for quite the amount of accomplishments and the vision for moving forward. I mean, as it says, it takes an army, right, to do this. You've assembled a very good team to get this done. We kind of touch on this every year. In terms of your staffing, do you have enough staff? And do you even have the bandwidth to accept more community planning contracts?
Right now, we could take one or two, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
After that, it starts. We have to ask those questions. And we got near the edge. We like I said, a couple dropped off, so that gave us capacity elsewhere. But that is always a concern. And I will say the positive side of it is we have generated, I think, very good support, which is not always a given when you have new people coming in and new leaders. They don't always understand everything we do. So that program, I think, has increased in its appreciation and knowledge. And I hope that continues.
I would imagine all the successful wins throughout the county help solidify your importance.
And the feedback we get from municipalities, especially when they're told to the elected leaders in person, is always a very big help, and we appreciate that. We do hear that a lot.
You guys should come out really well on this KPI stuff, right? I mean.
Yeah, I was gonna say more, when that started, I was just thinking in a data-minded thing, what are all the things we can measure and that I'd like to know or that I want, formalize? Wasn't necessarily thinking at the outstart of, what's gonna make us, what's gonna show the good side of what we do, and I don't wanna be cynical and say, that's, the effort is to, paint the numbers to make, use statistics, how they help you. But yeah, I mean, we weren't like throwing things out that we knew, go up and down, and and some things aren't as qualitative in terms of what they mean. Like you can't always control what happens, and that doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It's just you want to know what's happening, regardless of whether it's good or bad. So that's the approach I took. And we'll see how it goes.
The two comments I want to make. I'll give you my stuff here, but the two. Number one, there's no mention that we are. Concrete mentioned that we're working advising the county commissioners. There's nothing that says that we're connected, and I think there should be some mention of that in the work plan because you do a lot of your time is doing that, is it not?
And it's more and more
increasing.
Yes.
The other thing, and I think I mentioned this last year or some year past, is we don't have enough web links. We're mentioning reports, we're mentioning things. And if we're really pushing to go more online and have these electronic, if you see something, a report or something that you really like, you should be able to click to it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said it. Actually, last year we did, and it was your suggestion that drove us, we did put hyperlinks in the final version and they're all there. And that is going to be done with this as well. It's kind of the last step.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Scott?
Yeah, sorry.
I guess it was 2 years ago where we had the round robin with the staff members and they were really happy about that.
Yeah.
Because they, I believe, not directly say it, but they don't get to interact with the board members. And I was told that we'll probably do it in the next year or so. Well, we're the OSO's about here now. Yeah. So, you ought to talk it over with Steve and other powers to be and see whether we can have that this year.
Good point. Agreed. We've been difficult to find time and the purpose for it. I think in the comp plan, we've done some of that at different scales. So we'd like, I think we're definitely ripe for a broader.
It's almost like, hey, you don't listen, not us, but like the 32 or the 35 members that you have. Do they really listen to us? Do they really know what we were thinking about?
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I mean, you've got a great group, very mature, even for their ages, beyond their years. And I'd hate to lose anybody.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Definitely. Thank you. Any other comments? Great. Like I said, if anything specifically in the document that you want to send to us or tell us, just as soon as possible, we'd like to get this out in people's hands next week. Thank you. And I'll take Steve's role here and say our last agenda item is the director's report. And I knew we'd be short on time, so I don't have too much, but I do want to touch on one or two things. Which I have somewhere here. There's no real staff news. That's mostly a good thing. And although I will say we are facing some challenges with reorganizing on a couple fronts, but I'll talk a little more about that at lunch. We had an event this past Saturday, as I think was mentioned earlier, casually. John attended. It was actually the targeted audience was started off as newly elected officials. We did have, I forget the number, but it's close to 40 or 50, I think, of new people coming into the county. So that was the brainchild of I think Commissioner Mikija at first. Say let's get these people in here and let them know right off the bat what the county does and help start working together.
Then we invited all the elected officials after that, and even managers, and John made a good suggestion that they should either be equal or support or have dual events. And I was there with a few of my managers. It was really well done and a great turnout. And I think we really benefited. I had the opportunity to present our department in 7 minutes. I think I used 10, I'm told. But anyway, that was a good opportunity. And then a few other departments, that more the public facing ones, also spoke. But the real benefit of it was the hour and a half before that and the hour after, where we had a table and just got to talk to all the people walking through the hallway, made some good connections. We have already got some new meetings set up to talk about how we can work together and issues that some of our municipalities are facing. So that was a really well done and successful, despite being on a Saturday. But I think that was a good thing because more people were able to. February 11th is the state of the county. They did this last year with the commissioners. I'd tell you to put it on your calendar if you're interested, but don't, because we're going to be right here. They did schedule it the same time, and those things we couldn't avoid. So anyway, that'll be happening during our next board meeting, and you may hear about it. County branding and logo initiative, which is what Dulcie brought up to some extent, probably not even knowing what has occurred or what is occurring. We are getting a new countywide logo and branding that goes public on February 2nd. It's been a long time in the works. There have been some challenges with the how it impacts us and not realizing that until the very end. It's more than just we're losing our logo, which was my biggest kind of sadness, because I love our logo and we use it a lot. But we are going to have to change it and conform to the countywide. And there's good reasons for why they want to do it. And from a countywide and all the different departments, it makes sense. It hits us a little differently just because we are so forward moving in that, or have been so forward in that direction. And we have staff that actually are very good at doing that stuff.
Yes.
We're not
the only department can say that.
Not in a Philadelphia museum.
Well, and I'm not even gonna put it up there. We'll see it soon enough. We're still waiting for what the county department version looks like. We've seen it, but it needs to be fine tuned for us. So what is more, I think, a little more problematic for us right now is the extent of the branding is going to impact document design quite a bit. So they develop templates. Most departments use Canva, which is not a professional level software suite, but it's a great suite if you have nothing else and don't have a professional graphic designer. So we have to work within those things and figure it out. Some things are going to have to be designed. Many things are going to have to be designed in those parameters, certainly the color palette, but also to other extents. But then there's products that aren't going to fit. Aren't thinking of. There's so much that we make and do. I have talked directly to the communications manager about this, and we are going. She recognizes, that we are unique, and it will be a little working through period.
Was our graphics folks involved?
Our communications team was on the front lines, and some graphics as well. I think that was kind of, in hindsight, we did not have that. It was not communicated out to the graphics people as thoroughly as it could have been, and that would have been really beneficial if it had. But in the end, this was a train that was moving and has a lot of force behind it and has a lot of purpose to it that goes beyond our interests. And I don't know that we would have really, we could have raised the stink earlier, but I'm not sure we would have changed the ultimate ends. But that is my one regret, that we didn't have that angle of it more tightly coordinated. So anyway, it's happening quickly, so you might hear more from me next month. We work on implementing some of these things. Finally, two things. The state housing plan, we're expecting that very soon. I think there's an event scheduled with the author of it, or the DCED representative in February. So that event is predicated on it being released. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see it soon. And our own, as we stated earlier, our own housing blueprint is just somewhat of a spinoff of that, perhaps, though it's been long in the works. And then data centers. We are
Davey, our office sustainability officer, is working on an event end of February, early March. I literally just found out this morning that Micklos wants to do it, or is doing an event in the middle of February. And I will likely end up being a panelist on that. So, as we stated last month, things are moving quickly. And we're still working on our guidance, which we really had our hard deadline was end of February for that other event. I don't see how we're gonna get it done quicker, to be honest, but we want to have something ready by then.
Is the Mikado event their spring?
I think this is a special, yeah, it's like 2 hours.
February 12th in Montgomery Township.
Yeah, I don't know if it's public, like I said, I just got an email this morning. Let's give it a call. Second. That's all I have in the events list. I have a number of things happening next month, so. Thank you.
Any other business? Right. We're adjourned. It was all about completion. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.